Okay, social interest. This is Adler's term for the force binding society together, and this is when your final goal is to strive for success. It is essentially a move towards this social interest, a move towards contribution to society. And Adler had a word for this term, so let's click on it so you can hear a pronunciation of it.
Gemeinschaftsgefühl.
Gemeinschaftsgefühl. That is the German pronunciation of that social interest. And again, a healthy mother-infant relationship, healthy social environment, allowing children to essentially develop their own lifestyle and to to grow happily and strive for that perfection, but not have to be have that sense where not striving for superiority, trying to overcompensate for it. So again, this is something that Adler sees as an important goal for society. Okay, so we talked about the term lifestyle, which again comes from Adler, the flavor of a person's life. So it includes your heredity, your environment, and your creative power. Remember, your creative power is your own personal ability to be able to mold your life in the way you want it to. So we apply this. We express our social interest. We try to struggle with the three major problems in life, according to neighborly love. So your relationship with other people, sexual love, your relationship with romantic partners, and occupation. So your career. A mistaken lifestyle is where your compensation for inferiority is really not very adaptive. You could be over dominant over someone. You can be overly dependent. You could be avoidant, or you could be overly helpful. So according to Adler, problems in your behavior come from difficulty in adapting. It comes from perhaps an inferiority complex, where you just feel like a strong sense of inferiority, exaggerated physical deficiencies. Okay, so think of that somebody who might be like a hypochondriac, always blaming one particular physical ailment on the problems that they're having. A pampered lifestyle. If you remember, Adler mentioned it in that video about a child who is overly pampered. Now, may expect that as an adult and can't really take care of themselves. Or a neglected lifestyle, maybe where you're not really taking care of yourself at all, kind of letting yourself go. On the other hand, a superiority complex is, kind of like where, you really you want to step on other people, drive for personal success, and whoever gets in your way, run all over them. So when you develop in an abnormal way, it is an underdeveloped social interest. Again, social interest is the path towards normality, the path towards becoming a human being. You are try to make a contribution to society. A person who is neurotic, and again, you think about the law of the low doorway. A neurotic person essentially kind of beating their head against the wall over and over again, not really getting anywhere. They may set their goals too high. If you set your final goals, you've set your goals too high, then you're going to find yourself failing all the time. If you live in your own private world, then you're kind of escaping from reality. And if you have a rigid, dogmatic style of life, think about somebody who wants to have everything set their way, and don't disturb the way they do things, and don't touch anything on my desk. I want it the way I want it, and leave everything alone. This essentially maybe their social interest is not being fully developed. Okay. Remember that when you're compensating, according to this theory, you are really trying to protect your sense of self-worth. And if you are overly compensating, then essentially your self-worth is really exaggerated and it's not realistic. So you want to engage. So you engage in safeguarding tendencies to try to protect yourself. These safeguarding tendencies include making excuses, engaging in aggression, or engaging in withdrawal. So let's talk about that. So you're making excuses. You say, "Oh yes, but when you're dealing with criticism, that's how you're responding. You're trying to explain your failures. Yeah, I would have done it if only all of these troubles hadn't befallen me." So you make excuses for your failures, and that protects your sense of self-worth because it's not you. It's all these other things that are unavoidable getting in your way. You might engage in aggression. One way to engage in aggression is through depreciation, undervaluing other people's achievements and overvaluing your own. I'm sure you've experienced people who might do this. When someone tells you about their success, and maybe you feel a sense of jealousy, so you tell them essentially, "Oh, that's not really that great. I'm sure that if I were in your shoes, I would have done even better." Or you say, and again, you talk about your own successes. It wasn't as hard as what I had to go through when I made my success. That kind of thing. You may engage in accusation, blaming other people for your own failure, and of course, seeking revenge when you perceive that someone has harmed you in some way. And of course, self-accusation, where you're turning that aggression on yourself and you engage in self-torture and over sense of guilt. Withdrawal, another safeguarding tendency, moving backward, reverting to a more secure period of life. Similar to regression when we talked about a defense mechanism of Freud. And again, the idea is to elicit sympathy. You want try to behave like a baby, and the idea is hoping that someone will console you and give you sympathy. Standing still is kind of like in that pausing state, not moving in any direction. And again, if you're afraid of failure, don't move forward. Just stay where you are, and you're never going to fail. You're never going to try anything. You're never going to fail. Hesitating, engaging in procrastination and compulsive behavior. You think about someone who has OCD. What it does is it interferes with their life, and it interferes with their ability to get things done. They engage in these compulsions, and that dominates their life. So compulsions actually prevent you from doing the things that you need to do. You also might construct obstacles for yourself, creating these artificial hurdles. Maybe like thinking about undermining yourself sometimes. If you have a test coming up, you might go out drinking. And when you go out drinking the night before, now you've created a hurdle for yourself. When you wake up with a hangover, now you've created opportunity for you to fail. But again, you don't have to blame it on yourself. Masculine protest is another concept that comes from Adler. And again, this is kind of a form of compensation. You want to be manly, and you want to show your manliness, and any threat to it is something that you defend yourself against. And again, think about the overly compensating to be a macho person. And again, based on the cultural belief that men are superior to women. So in other words, puts pressure on men to be dominant, and women, their pressure is to be passive. Although women have the same needs as men, their feelings of inferiority are based on cultural influences. Of course, women actually are certainly in Adler's culture as well as our own, in many cases an inferior position in terms of power. Certainly not penis envy, but in the society, there's many obstacles that women have to face that men do not. As I said before, that Adlerian psychology has been applied to the study of birth order. And according to Adler, there are certain characteristics that are that exist for children, for people based on where they were born in their family. So firstborn children, they have intense feelings of power and superiority. They may be overprotective, and essentially this could carry on to adulthood. Secondborn children, and by the way, Adler is one of those, moderately competitive, but they have a healthy desire to overtake the older rival. And you think about Adler himself. His older brother was a doctor, and he wanted to overtake him, and he did. He did certainly become a doctor. The youngest children are often pampered, and again, if you think about that, then that may be true in your family. If you have the youngest child, again, they have strong feelings of inferiority. They're the weakest of the bunch, and of course, they're highly motivated to overtake the over. So they may actually develop that superiority complex, where they want to, overcompensate. And again, only children would have that exaggerated sense of superiority, and that makes a lot of sense because you think about the older children, maybe like feeling that they are the center of the universe in their family, and that may translate into adulthood. Adlerian psychotherapy is still practiced today, and again, if you went to that society of individual psychology, you'd be able to learn more about that. The goals are to enhance your courage, lessen those feelings of inferiority, and again, encourage social interest. Remember, you want to get people to avoid taking those safeguarding excuses and just, try to move toward your final goal in a fearless way. Don't worry, don't worry so much about your feelings, about your inferiority. Try not to worry so much about that. And again, moving towards social interest, moving towards making a contribution to society. And it's based on establishing a warm and trusting relationship with your client. Okay, I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to put up a separate lecture on Jung next time. So that's what we'll be talking about next.